So good afternoon, everybody. This is I think the second year prime lecture series about research as a resident. And as I understand it, Dr. Armstrong talked about mentoring and mentorship and how to build a mentor-mentee relationship, which I think is probably the most important first step once you realize that you might be interested in being involved in clinical research. But I did want to just say a couple words around the importance of becoming involved in clinical research. I view it, and I basically found this out when I finished my fellowship and I turned my back on research and went out and did general infectious disease practice for 3 years. And I found that I was basically practicing state-of-the-art care that was increasingly out of step with what my patients needed. And I realized that my patients needed cutting-edge research and not the best care that I could provide them, which was suboptimal. So then I went back into research. And so I think underestimating how good we are, or overestimating it, I think, is a mistake. We still don't know a lot, and there's much to be learned. So if you're interested in research, find an area that excites you or that you find interesting. Seek out faculty that are doing research in that area. And fellowship program directors and division directors, I think, are a great resource for this because they know who's doing what and who could take on a medical resident or student. Identify those target faculty and meet with them and discuss. And then just follow up. You know, if you really want to work in that area and they're the best faculty, you know, make yourself useful and make yourself a little bit of a pest in a way, and they'll realize that you're really serious. So once you've got a potential mentor, that's what we're going to concentrate on for the next few minutes. And that's really, well, what resources are available here at Emory? And there's a lot of resources that are available in general. And then many of these can also be used by medical residents, and then there are some that are available to students that may not be available to residents. At general, once you've identified a mentor, your mentor may not be doing exactly what you're interested in. For instance, you may be interested in some aspect of diabetes that they're not doing research on, and you're interested in looking at a new technology that might be useful in diabetics. Or you'd be interested in something that is being done in patients who have thyroid disease that may not currently being done in diabetics. So one of the things that's useful to know are what resources are available at Emory. And so I've highlighted this website here called eBERT, the Emory Biomedical Interactive Resource Tool. And what this is a fairly simple web interface where it allows you to look for various categories of resources that you might be interested in. And I don't think this link is active, but let me see. Yeah, that's what I was afraid of since I didn't load it on the Emory Healthcare computer. So basically, I'll show you on the next slide, I selected from the drop-down menu a type of resource and then a secondary research area. And there's very broad research areas like cancer, heart disease, diabetes, all the way to more basic science resources. And then you can, as you click, this program sorts and sorts, and it finds the resources that are available at Emory, and then collaborators who have indicated that they want to be listed on the website and are available through collaboration. So some of the things, for instance, are being done through collaboration of institutions outside of Emory that are on the website. So in this case, I just chose imaging and then the area medicine, and I didn't print out everything. You can see there are 10 resources, but it weighs everywhere from a DEXA bone densitometer, which is very important for looking at bone density, osteoporosis, inflammation, the skeletal bone interface, you know, various microscopic imaging technologies that are here at Emory, including confocal microscopes, et cetera. So you can see that with just a very few clicks of the button, you can rapidly see in certain areas what types of resources are available. And if you click on the More button, then it actually takes you to the page of the lab or the resource, shows you who the contact information are, if there's a charge for using the services, and if you're a student or resident, whether they offer services, and potentially some of them offer discounted services. So again, eBERT is a great place to start if you're trying to find technological resources. For instance, under data collection and analysis, this is something that people frequently say, well, we don't have a program, we don't have a way to collect data, we don't have a way to analyze data. So in general at Emory, there's a couple of resources that are available. This one, the BIRD Research, Biostatistics, Epidemiology, and Research Design Program, which is sponsored by the Atlanta Clinical and Translational Science Institute. This is an institute here at Emory and Morehouse that basically provides resources for research teams. And it's funded by the ACTSI, and Dr. Stevens, who was just here as the PI, and Dr. Martin of Pulmonary and others, Dr. Ramirez and many others are part of the ACTSI. So you can go to this webpage and you can find resources to help you with data analysis, et cetera, and then what the discounted rate is for faculty and students compared to just people wanting to use the service for other purposes. Now, in addition, the ACTSI has a program directly available called REDCap. Has anybody in the audience ever used REDCap? It's fairly widely used. One person, two people have already. And I think that they would testify this is a very simple, very easy to use program. You can use it, you can create a study, you can outline it in REDCap, and it'll actually help you with scheduling of volunteers, keeping track of appointments, and it's very useful for collecting and aggregating data in the context of clinical research. And I've listed some of the features of REDCap online here, and I noticed at the Prime website on the Department of Medicine website that REDCap is one of the resources that's listed, and I'd highly encourage you to use it if you're going to be doing a small study with, say, 20 volunteers, or even larger studies where you're working with a faculty or a fellow mentorship team. Now, let's say you get together with somebody and they're doing a research project and you're added on and you're doing a small project that's you sort of grow off of their larger project, and you've heard it somewhere about some amazing capacity that one of the research labs has here at Emory. This website that's relatively new, www.cores.emory.edu, shows the advanced laboratory cores that are available here at Emory. And you can see them listed here, like the glycomics core, the genomics core, the proteomics core, the mouse transgenic and gene targeting core. These cores offer very cutting-edge technology, and they're very interested, in many cases, in collaborating with clinical and translational researchers. And many projects that I've seen that fellows and residents have done have grown out of collaborations between the clinical side, the physicians that are providing care to the patients, and then the laboratory side, people who are developing new cutting-edge technology. So I think that this website is a very valuable resource and can get you into contact with the core directors. And there's also a core day here at Emory. It's usually in the spring, usually in April or May, where all the cores are in the School of Medicine lobby, and they present their services and have handouts about what's available. So if you happen to be here on core day, which will be coming up soon. Oh, it was last week? Okay. Well, if you were there, I'm sure it would have been useful. All right. Now, most importantly for residents, because, some of the things I've talked about, you can get to it in your third year, transitioning to fellowship if you're staying here. But data analysis, database analysis, those things are really the bread and butter of resident research projects. And we have a lot of databases here at Emory. When I looked last night on the website, there were more than 35 databases with repository samples, and probably twice that many databases that don't have repository samples. So I just selected a few that I know have been frequently used by residents. I really shouldn't be calling this the Grady Diabetes Database anymore. That's just a holdover. But the Diabetes Database now has data going back a decade or more from Emory Midtown, all of Emory Healthcare, and 2 decades worth of diabetes data from the Grady Diabetes Clinic. And it's all in a nicely formatted, easy-to-use database. And I'm aware of at least half a dozen residents in the last 10 years who have collaborated with our endocrinology faculty, Dr. Ramirez and others, on data projects and analyses, including an upcoming chief resident who just published a paper from some work she did on this database. If you're interested in HIV, the Center for AIDS Research has a data repository and samples. so that's another way that you could get involved. The sepsis ARDS database that Greg Martin has, I know he's worked with students and residents and fellows in the past. The Grady Trauma Project has spun off a slew of data analyses related to trauma, violence, and inner city type projects. And then the entire Emory Healthcare data warehouse, which includes data on almost every patient who's been seen at an Emory Healthcare facility for the last several years. This is available also for data analysis. So you can see that there's a wealth of data and then many databases that are linked to sample repositories so that you could do a lab project coupled with a data analysis. So in order to get started on something like this, I again encourage you to get in contact with one of the faculty that's working in an area that you're interested in doing research in. Now this I know is going to sound really corny, but I really mean it. By far the most important research resource at Emory is you. And I loved our Grand Round speaker when she closed acknowledging the people that had made the clinical observation. Clinical observation is key to discovering new fields in medicine. You know, peptic ulcer disease is a perfect example. When I was a resident, the only thing we knew for a fact was that ulcers were caused by acid. That was the one incontrovertible fact until somebody started observing bacteria in the stomach, which shouldn't be there. So I could give you many, many other examples. So clinical observations, you who are next to the patient are in a better position to observe something strange or unusual. And when you ask an attending and they say, we don't know why, that's an invitation to do research. If somebody doesn't know why, there's no reason why that has to be a permanent state of affairs. Techniques frequently flower best far from their original habitat. You know, people are inventing new techniques and new technologies all the time, and it's usually the things that are offshoots from that that really show that technology to its best. We would never have transaortic valvular repairs until somebody had first developed transaortic catheterization systems. And then finally, always remember that today's therapeutic limits are yesterday's realized dreams. I mean, it took a long time to get to where we are, but it's not going to take very long to get far beyond where we are. And you in this audience are riding the crest of about 100 years of biomedical research, and the research and clinical translational research opportunities to really develop cutting-edge therapies that you'll look back and laugh at some of the things you used to do as medical students to treat some common conditions that in the future we'll be able to hopefully fix permanently or treat much more effectively. So I highly encourage you to consider doing clinical and translational research as part of your career moving forward. And the PRIME website, please refer to that. There's a lot of good resources.